We're joined now by Hog Hoops insider Kevin McPherson. Ken, everybody wants to know, do you think this team is capable of making a run in the NCAA tournament?
Courtney, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why I think they do have they are capable. First of all, it starts with the positional size, length, and athleticism. Arkansas, when it plays to its strengths, can have matchup advantages. And I think that's the kind of, those are the kind of strengths you want to have going to the NCAA tournament. And I think Arkansas, it does boil down to matchups with certain teams. Illinois and Arkansas are very similar. I think the other thing is when I look at the individual pieces, Arkansas had 3 all-league performers as decided by the coaches, and even the Associated Press weighed in. For a team that finished below 500 in league play, when you look at the total body of work, I understand why that is. So Arkansas's got the individual pieces. When you're talking about making a run, you're talking about teams that are playing well at the end of the season. The last 2 years under Eric Musselman, Arkansas teams were sound defensively. Everything else kind of fell into place, and they marched through February into March. This team hasn't done that. In fact, 6 losses in its last 9 games, and so that's the one thing where you pump the brakes on a run if you're trying to be, analytical about it. If you're really trying to break it down and be honest, but again, the individual pieces are there. Nick Smith Jr. adds different dynamics to this offense, and Arkansas, if it can just get back to being a sound defensive team, it's still top 20 according to the analytics defensively. If it can get closer to that team that was around the top 10 when they won those 5 consecutive league games, I think that helps Arkansas. The last thing I'll say on that, the Razorbacks were good in neutral sites, 5-2 in actual neutral sites. They were actually better beating quality competition in neutral sites than they were at home and certainly on the road. And so they're at a neutral site. Maybe that plays into the mix as well for a run.
We sure hope it does. So you think they can make a run, but do you think this team is Elite 8 worthy?
I won't go that far. The last 2 teams were, but it was a grind. It was blue-collar work to get it done. And those teams, when we talk about the defense, that was consistent. Defense has got to travel. Arkansas's had a backslide there in these losses. The other thing when you're talking about a run to an Elite 8, you've got to knock off a big-time team. Last year, Arkansas knocked off the overall #1 seed Gonzaga. Guys like Devo Davis and Kamani Johnson know the feeling. Eric Musselman's coached in those situations. So there's some carryover. If you win your first round game, you got to beat a #1. Probably the 1-16 matchup's probably going to go Kansas' way. You got to knock off a #1 to have a chance to do that, Courtney. So Arkansas's got players that have done it a year ago, and they were awfully close in a couple of games against the overall #1 seed in this tournament, Alabama, an 11-point lead on the road against that. I don't think this team, if it advances past the first round, is going to back down from the challenge. I think they're battle-tested. It's just the self-inflicted wounds and some of the issues that this team's had, and we know injuries played a part in it, that makes things tough to overcome for these Razorbacks. So, but I think there's a path to an Elite 8. It's just not something that I would project. I don't even think the previous 2 teams, as well as they were playing, folks necessarily thought they were going to go that far with what was in front of them.
Yeah, before we let you go, Kevin, quick score prediction from you on that Arkansas-Illinois game. Who you got?
Well, if we're going to call the Razorbacks the good guys, I think we should. 71-68 good guys. The Razorbacks are going to find a way to punch another neutral site win this season. They are undefeated in NCAA tournament openers under Eric Musselman. And I think this team wants to do more than just show up and grab a T-shirt. I think this team wants to get a W, and I think they want to test themselves against another quality team, Kansas Jayhawks, on Saturday.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Kevin. We'll have much more coming up after the break.